The evening settled without ceremony. The apartment above the diner held the warmth of the day, the air faintly scented with cut wood and fresh lumber. Exposed studs cast long shadows across the subfloor. A coil of extension cord lay near the wall. A single bulb hung from a wire overhead. Margaret remained downstairs finishing up. Noah stood near the open window frame, one hand resting against the unfinished stud beside it. "Boys," he said. Jack looked up first. Oscar followed a second later. "Stay a minute." They did. Noah didn't pace. He didn't clear his throat. He didn't look at the floor. "I'm going to ask your mama to marry me." The words settled into the room without echo. Jack's jaw tightened just slightly. He didn't smile. He studied Noah the way he studied a board before cutting it, looking for warp, for weakness, for anything that might shift later. "You staying?" Jack asked. Noah held his gaze. "Yes." No elaboration. No promises dressed in language he couldn't guarantee. Just yes. Jack watched him for another heartbeat, then nodded once. Oscar shifted on his feet. "You already come back," he said. Noah's mouth lifted at one corner. The room stilled again. Nothing more needed saying. Downstairs, a door closed. Margaret's footsteps crossed the floor. Noah stepped back from the window. "Tomorrow," he said quietly. Jack didn't ask where. He didn't need to. The next afternoon, the sky stretched wide and pale above the auction lot. Dust hung in the air, stirred by boots, and folding chairs dragged into place. The smell of kettle corn and sun-warmed canvas drifted between rows of trucks, parked at uneven angles. Margaret stood beside Noah near a long table crowded with small boxes, mismatched china, tangled necklaces, watches, brooches dulled by time. She picked up a chipped saucer, turning it once before setting it down again. "People hold on to everything," she murmured. Noah didn't answer. He watched the crowd, then the auctioneer, then the jewelry tray near the end of the table. The auctioneer's voice rose and fell in steady cadence as farm tools changed hands and a rusted cultivator found a new owner. Margaret glanced at Noah. "You looking for something in particular?" He considered her for a moment. "I've been meaning to ask you something." She waited. "I'd like to make this official." He didn't kneel, didn't reach for her, just stood there in the open air, hat shading his eyes, steady as ever. The noise of the auction moved around them. Laughter, a hammer tap, a bid called from somewhere behind. Margaret looked at him carefully, not at the jewelry, not at the crowd, at him. Took him long enough. "Well," she said after a moment, "about time." His shoulders eased, almost imperceptibly. "That's so." She met his eyes. "Yes." He nodded once, almost to himself. "I take my time." She slid the ring onto her finger. "Yes," she said softly, "you do." The auctioneer called the jewelry lot. "Boxed pieces, mixed items. Who'll start me at 20. A hand lifted near the front. 20 I have. Do I hear 30? Noah waited. Another bid. 35. Noah raised his hand. 35. The bidding climbed once more. 40. A man 2 rows over lifted his card. Noah held steady. 45. The man hesitated, then lifted again. 50. The hammer fell. Sold. Dust shifted underfoot. Margaret didn't move. Neither did Noah. It had already been settled. Another lot was brought forward, smaller, cleaner. A velvet box among the scattered pieces. Next tray, who'll start me at 20? Noah lifted his hand again. The bidding moved slower this time. 30, 35, 40. He didn't flinch. 45. Silence. Going once. The wind shifted across the field. Going twice. Margaret stood beside him, calm as ever. Sold. The hammer struck wood. Noah stepped forward to settle the account. Margaret watched him sign his name without flourish. When he returned, he handed her the small box without ceremony. She opened it. A simple band, solid, uncomplicated. She slid it onto her finger. It fit. They walked back toward the truck, gravel crunching beneath their boots. Jack leaned against the tailgate, trying not to look like he'd been watching the whole time. Oscar stared openly at her hand. In the truck, the doors shut with familiar weight. The engine turned over. For a moment, they sat without speaking. Margaret rested her hand in her lap. She turned the ring once in the afternoon light. Noah shifted into gear, then reached for the dial. Static crackled. A local station came through, faint music. A voice talking about the weather. He left it there. Then, without looking at her, he reached across the seat. She turned her hand so his fingers fit. The truck rolled forward, gravel giving way beneath the tires. Jack watched their hands in the rearview mirror. Then he looked away. Oscar leaned closer, studying the ring as if memorizing it. They drove toward home.